Well, good afternoon, folks. This is Susan. I want to talk about these children in DHR and how our government is encouraging and ignoring the issues that are on the rise. These kids get transferred to and from these different environments. I have bought my son so much, so much through the 3 years that he's been in this foster care system to be able to provide for his needs because he's growing. First of all, when my son was picked up, we were in moving transition. We were in moving transition. Being poor or being needing assistance from the government due to unemployment, it's not an excuse to pick up children. So they have an excuse, which is the parent wanted to commit suicide or the parent was on drugs or something. Now, you can just look at me and know that I don't do drugs. I'm one of those very traditional people. But even if I had done drugs, the best thing to do is to rehab the parents. But that was not my case. I was asked to cooperate. I had 4 women in my face when they yanked my son away from me, following the first court in front of a referee. They were telling me to cooperate and calm down. All of this brainwashery and all of this is a work of the devil. I know that it looks funny from somebody else's point of view. I don't like watching those kind of movies. I don't like watching movies where somebody's getting hurt and to provoke laughter. That is not the kind of thrill or the kind of entertainment that I seek. But as it says in the Bible, that wickedness will increase. And I mean, somebody could be dying in front of you and you think it's fake, or you think it's entertainment, or you think, well, it doesn't matter to me. That's not my family. And all of these things are happening in our faces. And what is wrong looks right, and what is right looks wrong. What is real looks fake, and what is fake looks real. When I came here to Alabama from Mississippi, I came in here and I taught myself Portuguese. While I was pregnant with Alexander. I taught myself Portuguese halfway. I cannot say that I'm fluent. But I taught myself enough Portuguese because it was a language that I was being exposed to. So during my free time, while I was unemployed and pregnant, I would walk to the local Barnes and Noble and open up the book and read it and take notes. And I still have the notes. Teaching myself basic Brazilian Portuguese. I have been challenged lately with my English because of the stress. So I have to look up every other word to make sure that it's spelled correctly, because English is a very tricky language. Some things are spelled with Y, some things are spelled with I, some things are spelled with EI, and so, you know, to me it's like, what is the point of having the E in front of the I? But it is the way it is. Or a K in front of the N, the K is silent. You know, there's a lot of things that are contradicting in the English language. But yet it's the most widely spoken language in the world. It is the language that most people use as a common language. Far more popular than any other language in the world. And so people have adapted and adopted these English phrases or American phrases in American English into their vocabulary, everyday vocabulary. They will be speaking a foreign language and all of a sudden, you know, cool, or, you know, some kind of American or English word. So because English is the most spoken language, I do believe that this is why my Father God sent this to me. And I'm not the only one receiving messages. I know I'm not. But since around 2001, when I lived on Dove Lane, and I've told you that I felt like I was being fried like an egg. I would lay there in bed and feel like I was being fried. And I didn't understand what was happening. When I saw the three, Albert Einstein, President Eisenhower, and Mahatma Gandhi in front of me, it was not a dream. It was not a reality. It was like another state. And it wasn't that I was on drugs or anything like that. I have never been into taking selfies. I have very few pictures of myself. The pictures that I have of myself, most of them have been taken by my children, or at a party or something like that. It's not that I go around taking pictures of myself. The pictures that I hang on my walls are not pictures of myself. They're pictures of my children's artwork and writing. And so if I am a person that has goals and aspirations, some of you want to bring me down because I'm too, the word I'm looking for is when somebody aspires to have too much or wants too much. But when somebody just says, you know what, I need to put food on the table, it doesn't matter that I've managed an infertility clinic. It doesn't matter that I was honorably discharged from the Air Force. It doesn't matter that I speak Spanish and English fluently and that I topped 5% nationally in 1992 when I took my Spanish and Portuguese examinations in the nation. 7th place nationally for grammar and literature. Because it doesn't matter. I mean, even if my last name is Valerino Jones and I just go by Valerino, people will say, well, you're not Hispanic enough, or you don't want to be Hispanic enough. It doesn't matter what I do. People will always criticize what I'm doing. And we're just like little ants to God. We're just like little bitty ants. I mean, before Hurricane Maria, I wrote it down because I could foresee it. The rod of correction, there's going to be a lot of flood, and there's going to be, you know, I could foresee it. And this is when I was living with Charity, a person that I did not know very well, my neighbor's daughter. She said, well, while all of this is going on with Alexander, in between the referee Gant, Stephanie Gant, and Judge Naaman, while I was living with this young lady, I did not know her. I mean, I'm a mature woman. I have owned my own home. I like everything tidy. I like to clean after myself almost immediately. And I was paying half of the rent that I was told that was. I was paying half of the rent with the utilities included without questioning anything. I just said, okay, I'll pay you $100 a week. So that's $400 a month. And I was being told, well, you have to suck it up with Charity by a local church, Methodist church on Azalea in Mobile. I was invited to come to the church. And when I started to speak to this young lady about, you know, helping me with the situation, she introduced me to the pastor and invited me to church, but my son was not returned to me. I was told and even asked, well, what else do you have to do? What else do you have to do? And it's like, I already did it. The more I cooperated, the deeper and deeper it got, and I could foresee it coming. That it was a labyrinth, and it was a man-made evil scheme. And it has consequences. So, I have never been involved in witchcraft. I have never been involved in illegalities because I don't like anything obscure. I don't. I don't have anything to hide, and I don't have anything to fear. So when I lived with Charity, I thought to myself, why is she leaving her laundry in the washer to mold? Why? Why is she leaving her dishes in the sink just on purpose, just there to attract roaches? Why? Why were these things not instilled in her? Well, from what I learned, she was raised by her grandparents. And that is a pattern here in the South. That not everybody, but in America, I should say, maybe not the South, but especially here, that is just something that is a chronic thing. The parents just leave the kids with the grandparents. The parents leave the kids with the grandparents, or DHR gets involved and the parents get custody, and the grandparents get government money. And so it's like I don't know. Another thing that I just could feel is that there was like some kind of a plan to leave me out in the street with like my little puppy. Like there's this woman that has no job and no way to take care of her little puppy out there in the street. You know, I can feel. When I lived on Sage Avenue, I could feel these demons in there. I could feel it. So I'm going to read this to you. We think we are big, but we're really small. We are tiny, micro. We need to look inside to learn about heaven. So when I lived on Sage Avenue, when Alexander was still little, I was being denied employment, so I stayed home. I was told by this group of Christian ladies that God is going to provide, so don't worry. And I was thinking, God provides, but God gives you gifts. So why can't I use my gifts to work? So I stayed at home and I continued my receiving and continued taking my notes. And I feel that I was being used to steal my intellectual capital. That I was being used to study me, to rob me, to interrupt me. Because electronic harassment is a reality. And I was very angry, and that was not my nature. Because I thought, how am I going to have Jacob come stay with me, which has always been, this is why I moved to Alabama, to get away from Mississippi, but still be close to my son. I desire to raise my children. See, Jacob learned how to play the piano. I'm not a musician, never have been a musician. I never have been. That's not my forte. Everybody has gifts. I have never been a musician. Never. I didn't even desire it as a child. I like music, but I never desired to be a musician. But I think all children need music in their lives. Like, all children need to be exposed to the different instruments so that they can pick at least one. At least one that they can fiddle with. Because that would be beneficial for all children. All children should be taught in school music theory. All of them, from little bitty, because it makes a world of difference. And I believe that what I'm receiving is something that's much bigger than I can possibly comprehend. That's why I'm putting it out there. So for some of you can help me, because I'm not here for your mockery. I'm not here for you to be like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What do you have to do? What do you have to do next? And I'm tired of it. So when I receive these messages, I receive messages like the strings go right up to him. We hold the keys. He has given us keys and notes. Let us bind our notes and play the song. Let us bind our notes from our books. Because somebody can look at me and say, Susan is very humble. And somebody can say, Susan is very snooty. Susan is very flighty, flaky, fake. Susan is actually really cool. All of those things are true, right? According to you, that's your right. But I'm not here to be your microbe, because I'm here to tell you that we are all tiny, tiny. And the way to heaven is to look inside of yourself. Not to be taking somebody and totally discombobulating them so that you can, I mean, when I'm done, you're going to find somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And then we'll all be dead physically. And where are you going to go? If you don't think God is real, then I feel sorry for you, because if you don't think that God is real and you think that this man-made reality is the only reality, it's like, how do we come up with these projects, we have to think about them, right? War, for example. War, the way they plot war, is all about math and science, mostly math and psychology. Because these people are highly intelligent, they're highly successful, so they are using their God-given gifts to humanity to work for their country, and use their God-given gifts to humanity to destroy another part of humanity. But remember that we are the body. If you don't believe that we're the body of humanity, you're highly mistaken. We are the body, and we think that we are big, and we're not. We're tiny. We're tiny, tiny, tiny parts of the whole body. And you're thinking, I don't like this other part of my body. I don't like it, so I'm going to destroy it. Well, in the Bible, it does say if your hand, is getting in your way, then by all means cut it off. But that's just a way of speaking to say, like, don't let anything distract you from what you're doing for the kingdom of God. Like if your eye is, looking at your neighbor's wife and desiring what's not yours, take it out, because that's going to hinder you. That's just a way of speaking. Like, just don't desire what somebody else has. See, when I was nursing Alexander on Sage Avenue, I had a neighbor who would come, and he was talking to me about bringing his wife with him, and how he always wanted a little boy, and how he just really was pursuing his wife to give him a boy, and how she didn't want any more children. Well, they eventually had a little boy and named him Jacob. But as I was there nursing Alexander, he would just look at me, and I was trying to cover up my breast, because it was a situation where he would just come in the middle of my nursing. People would knock on the door and interrupt Alexander's nap. I had a lady from Cuba. She would knock on my door, and when I put a note on the door, she would knock on my windows, wanting me to translate for her between her and the manager. Now I thought to myself, okay, why now while Alexander's taking a nap? As if they had a way to see how they could interrupt, exactly when they could interrupt. As if they were getting paid to do that. It's the work of the devil. So I'm seeing this vision, but I see layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. It's like I see different layers at different times and different angles at different times, but it's the same picture. When I first came here to Montgomery, because I'm a makeup artist, I can look much younger. And I have an attitude, that I can appear much younger. And I use it for my benefit. Because if I don't have that motivation, that demeanor, I can very easily become depressed by the reality. So I use that for my benefit. God has gifted me with the ability to act. I can have different accents. I can have different, not different faces, but I can put the same makeup on every day, but look different. I wake up in the morning and I just put it on, my makeup, the way I always do. I always put on the same makeup. maybe a little different shade lipstick, but I can have different, and that's because it is what it is, right? Some days you're dehydrated, some days you're plump, some days you're hydrated and happy inside. But I know my abilities and my disabilities. So when I tell you that I haven't been to the eye doctors, because I know what it takes to correct your vision. So I haven't needed a new prescription in 10 years, or over 10 years. And my eyeglasses are really thin. Because I don't think that people out there with really thick glasses like thick glasses. I don't think that they like them. And my son is, to me, it's like I could never take out my anger on somebody else's child. If I despise somebody, I'm not going to take it out on their son or daughter. I think that that's really cowardly. If you don't like me, then don't like me. Let's do it one-on-one, whatever it is. But to take it out on children, I think is very cowardly. So, I have seen this vision with the K in the middle. And originally I thought it was my vision for a restaurant, with the kitchen in the middle, and then these different levels, and these private party rooms, and there's 8 P's. They're in sets, 4 sets of P's. P, 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 P. And that was for past, present communication, but also for persistence, patience and persistence. You have to be patient, but you also have to be persistent. Peaceful protest. Being peaceful, but protesting for your rights. Otherwise, you're going to lose your rights. PP for Peter, all the way to Paul. But when we are built on top of a solid foundation as a humanity and also as a human being, that's the temple. We are being built on top of a solid foundation, which is the disciples. If the first foundation is Peter, and then you go all the way, and the last apostle is obviously not Judas, the betrayer. At one point there were 11, because Judas, the betrayer. That's not what we want as part of our foundation. So it is Paul. Paul said, I'm the least of the apostles. And remember what it says in the Bible, that the least will be the greatest and the last will be the first. So Paul, not Judas, the betrayer. So we are built on top of that. So who's closest to us? So old and new shall meet in the middle. Jews who believe in the Old Testament and non-Jews who believe in the New Testament. It is not about being Christian or Baptist or Catholic, because there's a war among you. And you have dragged my son in the middle of this warfare among you, and all of these illegalities that are going on in this country. I have believed, and I still do believe to this day, that if this country is going to let everybody and their brother in here, legally and illegally, then let us know who is who and what is what. Because now, as it appears, I'm just some homeless vagabond, and my son is just a little foster puppy, right? because you've taken from me what is mine. And when you're done with it, you move on to some other entertainment. Because it means nothing to you. This means nothing to you. So, my son is not a puppy. My son was a planned and desired pregnancy. I had my first son, Jacob, at almost 25 years of age after having managed an infertility clinic. But that was not my calling. The doctor told me, Susan, if you get your nursing degree, I want you to know that you can have a job with me. Because he was going to retire from the Air Force and open up his own practice. That was not my calling. Because this came to me. And I was trying to decipher, what is this that I'm receiving? Overwhelming. Because you have to sort and sort through. Both my children were planned and desired pregnancies. And I'm not saying that for those of you who've had children as a teenager or children out of wedlock, I'm not saying that that's wrong. But I personally did not want to have a child during my teenage years. And when I saw the struggle that some of these couples had with not being able to conceive when I was in my early 20s, and after hearing one doctor's comment, he said, Susan, some of these women wait until they have it all together, and then they're not able to biologically, naturally have children. They have to be, going under treatment. Some of these treatments cause cancer of the ovaries because these are hormones that are given to produce more eggs, and then take the eggs and do the in vitro, and all of that is very risky. And when you have multiple embryo in your womb, if all of them take, some doctors, it depends on the doctor, some doctors have to get rid of some of the embryo to allow for the other ones to have a higher survival rate or a better chance of surviving. And that, to me, it's like you're making a life and then you're taking it. And that was not my calling. So it's my perspective and it's my right. So if for some of you who think, well, you have all kinds of experience in the medical field, why didn't you go back in the medical field? Well, I did. I did go back in the medical field when I was going through a divorce that took 5 years in Mississippi. 5 years. No divorce takes 5 years. Other than the people behind it. See, there's a lot of corruption, a lot of illegalities going on that are driving our judicial system, and we really don't understand. It's like, well, haha, it's you, it's not me, so I don't care. I don't sell drugs, never have sold drugs. I don't do drugs. But I feel that those people who have sold or done marijuana don't belong in jail. People who are selling and dealing narcotics, yes. But look how many legal drugs we have in opiate crisis in America that are prescription drugs, that are FDA approved. And so I believe that there's a right medication for the right person at the right time. That's what I learned in the medical field. So when I lived with Charity, I couldn't understand, why is this young lady, because I was 20 years old when I went in the military, and I have always been very particular about my laundry. Like, I take it out as soon as it comes out of the dryer. I hang it up so I don't have to iron it. And if it needs to be ironed, I'll set it to the side and I'll iron it in a specific way. I'm very particular. So I didn't understand why this young lady would leave her laundry there to mold. So in order for me to do my laundry, which I was paying for half of everything, to include the rental of the washer and dryer, I had to use gloves sometimes, or rewash the laundry on a regular basis. On a regular basis, I had to do dishes that were not mine, because I needed to pour water to make myself some coffee, and I couldn't even get my cup around the sink. And I thought to myself, why do people do this kind of thing? Why? It is beyond my comprehension. Yesterday I saw my son Alexander, and his eyes were almost coming out. He said, "Mom, I want to be with you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you." The caseworker stood in front of the judge back in 2018 when I lived in my apartment that was furnished humbly yet comfortably. My son's bedroom was clean and serviceable and ready for Alexander. All his artwork on the wall, I took photos of it, not to brag, because why would I be bragging about my son's artwork and my cleanliness and orderliness? It's not bragging. It's celebrating the little that I have. So this caseworker stood in front of the judge and said, "Alexander's scared of Miss Valerino." And you know it's a lie. The judge knows it's a lie. Everybody knows it's a lie. And these are the kind of trials, or these are the kind of court cases that the American taxpayers' money is paying for. So this is north, this is west, this is south, and this is east. West and east, we come down, we're being gathered. We, W for west and E for east. We are being gathered to understand. We will be standing before our Maker, before our God, before our Judge of Judges. We have to stand, but we have to understand with our hearts. I will highlight it for you in the Bible, since we are in the Bible Belt. We have to understand that God is our boss. And we have not been working for God here on earth. We've been working for the devil. So West, W for West, and E for East. We are being gathered, the faithful remnant, those who hear. Because remember that the last will be the first. Ben means son. Benjamin, the last son of Israel, or Jacob, with his favorite wife Rachel, his name was Benjamin. But when she delivered him, it was so painful. It was such a laborious delivery. She said, I'm going to name you Benoni, which means son of my pain. And Israel did not want his son to be feeling that shame. So he said, no, he's going to be son of the right. But he's also known as son of the south because he came from his mother's womb. And that was the last time. So, son of the south, son of the right, being lifted by Jacob's or Israel's hand, righteous hand, up to the Lord's light. He said, you are blessed, you are son of the right. Benjamin is known as son of the south and son of the right. Now, I did not grow up reading the Bible. I believe in dancing. I have smoked cigarettes. I have danced. I have drank alcohol, but when I drink too much, I throw it up. That's God's way of saying, don't do it. When I can't smoke anymore because whenever I smell the smoke, I feel like vomiting. Because God has made me this way. He does not want me doing those things that are bad for me, because God is the breath of life. It comes from God. So why are we polluting our airway and our lungs and our entire body with that? But at one point I did it and I enjoyed it because I wasn't looking at it that way. I wasn't looking at it the other way. Even though I knew it was bad for me, quote unquote, but it is really bad. So we need to understand, stand before God, but under God. Before God, but under God, because He is our boss. We will understand with our hearts transformed through a transformation of the mind, which is a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. Because some of you think, okay, this lady, what is she doing in Montgomery? What is she doing at somebody else's house? What is she doing? So, we come together as a humanity, not necessarily physically in one spot at once, because the whole earth is the land of our inheritance, that we ourselves will clean with His helping hand above ours, because we will understand that God is our boss. And even though we come before the Lord and become one with God, and He is going to be in us, His glory in us as a guide, we'll understand that He is our boss. And my son Alexander is not the people's child. He is mine, my son, not y'all's. If you think that there's going to be a single man that's going to come down to earth and take all of your burden, you are highly mistaken. If you think that there's going to be one individual, one, who's going to be dying for your sins, that already happened. So that you may believe. The one in us is greater because we are tiny, 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 tiny parts of the whole body of humanity. And the one in us as individuals is greater because we are small parts of the whole body of humanity. And we need to be the change that we want to see in the world, with His helping hand above ours and with us, because He's in us. So don't be sacrificing children to God, because what you're doing is sacrificing children to false gods. Because as Jesus said, you Samaritans don't know what you're worshiping. But we do. And God is looking for true worshipers who worship Him in the Spirit. Not, oh, la la la, la la la, la 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 la. No, in the Spirit. In you, the way that you know how, yes. But religiosity is not faith. And faith is not religion. If you have a religion, that is your right. As a free citizen, because God is a God of freedom. Whatever religion you choose, that's your right. According to your language and your culture, and according to your belief. God is a God of freedom, not oppression. He doesn't say you have to be this religion. Jesus was not preaching religion. So this war that you have going on among you, it is your war, not mine. You have to understand that I am not sacrificing my son to any god of Molech. So I see 4 M's. I see an M up here, an M here, an M here, and M here. But when you look at this M, it looks like a B or a 3. When you look at this M, it looks like a W. When you look at this M, it looks like an E. So we are gathered as a humanity to understand. We are being lifted to His heart, because in the Bible it says that we will understand with our hearts. When you understand something, it's here, like, oh, it's a different perspective. So, being lifted to the heart. Remember that we have to look inside. So while you are studying me from your angle, you see a reaction, you see an emotion, you see whatever. but you're not really understanding because you're not looking inside of yourself as individual parts of the whole body of humanity. You're not looking in the mirror of heaven. You're looking at your brother and you're criticizing your brother because they're not like you, because you think you're better, or maybe they are better than you and you think that they are better than you, which we are all equally important parts, different. If our whole body was an eye, what good would we be walking around just these eyes, giant eyes, walking around? We wouldn't have any legs or hands or mouth or ears. We need a heart to circulate everything. We need a liver to filter everything. We need a digestive system to sort everything. We need a mouth to eat our food with, masticate. And we need a tongue and a throat to swallow, and a throat to breathe, and a nose to breathe. We need ears to hear. If we were all an ear, the whole earth were an ear. So you're separating yourselves. You are separating yourselves because you think that you are better because you're the ear, or that you're better because you're the eye, or that you're better because you are the hand. We are the body of humanity. We need to stop interrupting one another. What happened on Sage Avenue was interruption after interruption after interruption. And all of this human studying is for exploiting humanity, for stealing what is theirs, entertaining the audience, deceiving the audience. And who's making money in the buying and selling of the victims? The victims may or may not even be aware that they're being exploited, that they're being bought and sold in their own homes without their knowledge or permission. So while the victims are looking inward to see the kingdom of God, because what's in you is greater than you as individual parts of the whole, how hypocritical, how cowardly, and how un-American. Because America is the land of the free. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom to redress. But not freedom to exploit, because that is the opposite of freedom. Not freedom to oppress, because that is the opposite of freedom. Not freedom to buy and sell people. Remember that Jesus drove out all who were buying and selling at the temple. He threw a tantrum. He made a whip out of courts, and he drove them all out. So we are being gathered to be lifted. It has already happened, but it will become a reality, and it will manifest itself when we all see it. We've been lifted up, 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 and to the right. The right because it's into his heart. But when you look at it from the inside, we went up, up, up into Dalet. It's a door. So you see it from this perspective, and then you see it from this other perspective, because you're in transition. You're going in through the door. So now you're seeing this other side. I've been there, but I cannot see past that point. I'm not able to see past that time. I am not able to see past that time, because I have a time to live and a time to go. And I have a job to get done, which is done. But it will manifest itself when we all see it. We went into the light that is brighter than the fire that is He. And that's all that I see. But what I know is that we'll come back down to deliver the good news and deliver what we have received while we were up there with no gravity weighing us down. We'll come back down to deliver to the rest of the body, because life is a cycle. It is a cycle of life, the circle of life. I am not able to see past that time when we went into the light, which is brighter than the fire that is He. But I know that we will come back down. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know. That has not been revealed to me. I don't know how many years or months or decades. I don't know. Only God knows how long it takes for us to come back down to earth to deliver the good news. And deliver, because we're going to come back down, and it's the key again. It's down, down, down. But if we look at it from this perspective, we're going to go down, 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 and to the right again. So we're going to go up. What looks like going up is also coming down. So when we look at it from this perspective, so we were up, we were lifted, and now we're coming down. So we've got to look at it from this perspective. We're going, let's see. Yes, we're going to the right. We're going to be delivering. Going down. Deliver to detox our systems. We will do it with what we have received. That anti-gravity is only a temporary state to receive more for our less in the heart. And we will come back down to deliver for the rest of the body, to save the rest of the body that we are part of. Life is a cycle. Circulation, cure, solution. So we gathered to be lifted into He. So in this direction, because this is our gate. This is our gate right here. But we're being gathered. And what we need to understand that this be to the east, that beast that we see, this, they're the enemy attitude. They're the enemy. What we see as evil is really live when we look at it from this other perspective, because they read from right to left. We read from left to right. We are shaped as a humanity according to our nature and nurture, our environment. And we are a product of our society. But also, we're being reborn from His light. We're being enlightened. So we can read from left to right and from right to left and understand deeper one another. We have to look inward because the kingdom is in us, and it will manifest itself when we see it. The invisible will become visible from the inside. We will comprehend. So what we see is the beast and evil is really, remember that He is the to and from. He is the first and the last. He's the root and the branch, the beginning and the end. He is the to and from the east, Jerusalem. Satan, the Lord rebuke you, Satan, the Lord who has chosen Jerusalem. When we stand before the Lord, face to face, before, with Satan to the right, the Lord, our judge, and Joshua become one. And the Lord rebuke you, Satan, to the right of whom? The judge or Joshua? It doesn't matter. Because listen, Joshua before the Lord, which is the judge, become one. And we are seated at God's right hand, or Jesus is seated at God's right hand. And David says in the Bible that God is my right hand. So He into us and us in Him. Us in Him and He into us. The right means correct. Not that us left-handed people are the devil. No, because we're going to be able to understand things. Some of us read from left to right, and some of us read from right to left. He is the to and from the east, the to and from the right. And Jerusalem means up to Jerusalem, but straight means derecha, which means right, but it means both. So whenever we say Jerusalem, that means righteous, up in a direction upward, but it's also to the right. But what we have to understand is that I'm not saying that left-handed people or people from the West are evil. Layers, people, layers. Okay? So, we went up in this direction. So, this west, when it gets turned, righted, when we're like writing it or correcting it or turning it to the right, when we take this W, which is really an omega, we're turning it to the right, it's an E. So the W becomes an E. We, the people in the West. West and East. We. Okay? In the South. When God spoke to Ezekiel, the Son of Man, he is the only one that God addressed as the Son of Man. Face these people. Warn them in the South. Turn your face to the South. Meaning, like, the people down there. Ezekiel was also speaking to the bones, the dry bones in the valley of dry bones. And God asked him, do you think these bones will live? Ezekiel said, I don't know, Lord, only you know. And he said, prophesy to the breath. And prophesy. And these bones started coming together. That's not only us as an individual, but also us as individual parts of the whole body coming together. Like we were just a dead humanity, and then it's like Christ. Who's the Son of Man, people? Who's the Son of Man? Ezekiel was the Son of Man speaking to the valley of dry bones, dry because they needed water, which is the Word of God. And then we're all little bitty parts like scattered, right? We're scattered because he scatters and then he gathers. And he's like, come, return to me, return to me, return to me. And I know it looks creepy, right? It looks like a zombie movie, but it's like that's how we were. We were living, but we were dead, okay? And so then it's like the body of humanity with God in us as a whole body of humanity and also as individual parts of the whole. And it's like, who is the one? Who is the Son of Man being lifted like the snake was lifted in the wilderness by Moses himself? But Joshua was chosen to take over Moses because Moses was old, and now the new is Joshua. Son of none. None means snake, but also fish. The Son of Man has to be lifted, Jesus says, like Moses lifted the snake in the wilderness. So we're all individual parts of the whole. And it's like, we are going to lift up the Son of Man with his helping hand above ours. We have a staff. What does staff mean? A staff doctor is the head doctor. Joshua, son of Nun, who took over Moses, with the staff, head, our head, Benjamin, between his shoulders, son of the south, son of the right, Benjamin, the last, but also Ephraim, my firstborn son, from the book of Jeremiah 31. All of these things happening simultaneously. We are the lion. We are the ox. We are the face, the human face, and we are the eagle with wings to fly. Forward and up. Freedom. And the reason why Ezekiel saw 4 is because from the 4 corners of the earth, representing, but they're really one humanity with 4 faces. Okay, it's like a mirror image because we are being gathered, we, West and East, being gathered to the south to be lifted up to the heart so we can understand before the Lord, but understand that He is boss. He said the north. We come into the heart and to He from the inside into Dalit through the door. And that's all that I see. But what I know is that we'll come back down to deliver and detox our systems. So I'm going to, when we take this, see, I see the M, the 3, the W, the E. When we take this and flip it like we open a book, when we turn the page, we have to turn the page, folks. We have to turn the page to a new chapter. Because we have to understand that we have been chosen. The faithful remnant. Jerusalem has been chosen. Jerusalem is a blueprint for all cities in all nations. JJ, Joshua in front of the judge, become one. JJ, Joshua with the judge in him, becoming one, have chosen Jerusalem. It's the scattering and the gathering, folks. The scattering and the gathering. The simplifying. We have to simplify all of this because God is a God of truth and light, and He wants to make it simple for us. All the things that we complicate, we purposely complicate our lives. But unless we go in to the deep to understand that we are parts of the same body, Jews and non-Jews. I once was having a conversation with a Muslim lady who told me that she despised the Jews and that she wished that Hitler would have just taken them all out. And weeks before that, I was with a group of Christian women who were telling me that those Muslims are evil. They're bad people. You, body of humanity, you separate yourselves from one another. But God has promised to bring us to the land of our inheritance, because we are the body of humanity and the whole earth is our land of our inheritance. And we will clean it up with His helping hand above ours. He is with us, but He's also above us because He is our boss. And with Him, we will do it right, not without. Joshua, our head, has a staff. Staff, head. There are 5 rights. 5 rights of medication. Why do you think the staff and the snake were chosen as a symbol of medicine? Hippocrates himself said that food is medicine and medicine is food. This is why I wanted to open up a restaurant with my master menu and 12 sub-menus, with a kitchen in the middle and a deep porch for the smoke outside, yet the smokers sheltered, with 4 entrances with double arched doors. I could see the K in the middle, and I still do. And this is, since I was in my 20s, 27, and now I'm 47, 20 years later, I have not changed. I will show you pictures of me in my 20s. My style, I don't change. When I was sick, I was sick. But I healed myself through prayer. I got down on my knees and I said, Father, this is not my illness. This is not mine. This is not my nature. This is not my weight. This is not my disease. And I prayed about it. I prayed for clarity, and I prayed for strength and motivation. And God gave to me within 1 week. I was out there jogging and losing the weight. And I got down to a size 0. I would go to the Gap to get jeans that were 2 sizes smaller. Because just like when we get into larger clothes, we will grow into them eventually. This is why it's nice to be snug but comfortably snug. We cannot be all just like letting it all hang out, because we'll grow into it, just like our posture. When I was injured in a car accident, this lady rear-ended me, and I could feel my back, and I could visualize my back. My disc, it was to the side and bulging out. My father said, lay down on these weights, metal weights. And he said, line them up, lay down on top of them, and then just lay there, and it was a little maneuver. And I was also doing inversion exercises, yoga, Pilates, going to the gym and doing like just letting the gravity weigh me down and to lengthen my spine. I was my own physical therapist because my father's hand was with me. He told me to start with the book of Revelation and then the book of Ezekiel. This is why I said back in the early 2000s, let us have Ezekiel bread on the table of truth and transparency with the 5 doves of peace. Because I saw before me Albert Einstein, President Eisenhower, Mahatma Gandhi, and I saw 3 angels to my left between me and the window on Dove Lane. I felt Albert Einstein come into me like a download. And it was like in and out. And then the next day I was going to the library and looking up things about Albert Einstein, Mahatma Gandhi, President Eisenhower. They were leading me at the library. They were telling me, because we don't have all the time in the world to read every book there has ever been written. You're going to start putting these things together, because the strings go right up to him. The strings. The song has already been written for us. We just need to put our notes together. And I could feel Maria Montessori to my right. And the formula was given to me. M&M equals E. Military money equals Einstein and Eisenhower. And then M&M equals E, or E equals M&M, which is education equals Maria Montessori. And I could feel Dr. Martin Luther King's echo for years. And until I lived at Carlisle Close, I saw Dr. Martin Luther King come down, and took him all afternoon, and then he was everything I could see in front of my window. And his lips moved. And as soon as he was gone, it was like a few seconds delayed reaction. And then I looked it up. Ever since the birth of our nation, America has had a schizophrenic personality, and it's like a love and hate relationship with the Negro. And he wasn't necessarily against space exploration, but what he was wanting the government to understand that we need to prioritize our very own people that we have here on Earth. We have to prioritize the issues that are pending, that we ourselves have caused. that we're ignoring. If we can spend so many millions of dollars into sending somebody to the moon, we can very well spend that money on helping our own people here on Earth. Start with America, because we haven't even been born yet. We've been refusing to be born. The Constitution was written, and we have it, and we are violating our own Constitution over and over and over, starting with the Native Americans when the Europeans came in here with the slaves and basically raped the Native Americans out of their own land, and then they started doing these experiments with trying to Caucasianize the Native Americans and trying to force them into Christianity, because according to them, they were superior, and they were the Native Americans were ignorant or wild. When they came in here escaping their own shenanigans that was going on in England with the King of England not wanting them to exercise their freedom of religion, they came in here and did the opposite. They were trying to force their ways to the native people by enslaving black Afro-Americans, because these Africans were strong. They were blessed with strong bones and strong muscles. I'm not saying that all Caucasian people are evil. No. Or that all black Afro-Americans are good. Or that all Native Americans are victims. No. But it is what it is. So we've got to take care of these issues. It's like my grandma said, you've got to wipe your own butt, learn how to wipe your own butt before you think about having a boyfriend. She would say that all the time when we were little. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about having a boyfriend, but she was just warning us. Like, don't you be thinking about little boys or anything like that until y'all learn how to wipe your own butts. That was a way of saying there's a time. Back in the days, your grandma would go grocery shopping and she couldn't take all 5 or whatever kids, so she would go to the neighbor, knock on her door, and say, watch these kids for me, I'm going to go, I'll be right back. You know what to do if they misbehave. And then she would tell us, she would get in our face like this. Bien sabes, niña, te me portas bien. No vayas a hacer ninguna travesura porque ya tú sabes. She never spanked us, but she only warned us. And she would say, ay niña, no dejes para mañana lo que tienes que hacer hoy. Los perezosos trabajan doble. The lazy people work twice as hard. Because if you don't clean it up now, you're going to have to clean it up later. And she would say, don't leave for tomorrow what you can do today. Don't leave it for another day, because another day you may not have the opportunity to do it. So while you have the light, Jesus said, we are the body of Christ. We are individual parts of the whole body of Christ. We walk in the earth, cleaning it up. We have all kinds of gifts. Okay. So this 3, if you flip it like we're turning a book, so it's not going to be evil. Okay? We have to flip it because now it says beast. So we have to flip it, and that E for evil, we're going to read it live, because that's how they read in the East. But it's not evil live. No, it's like it's not evil, it's not Satan, because God has already chosen Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, they read from right to left. So it's kind of like, is that glass half empty or half full? How do you see it? Well, both, but now it's time to turn the page. Birthing. Come out of your mom's womb into God's light and be born, son of the right. So I'm going to take pictures of these things so y'all can look at them and understand that I'm not crazy or schizophrenic, or I'm not looking for y'all's attention, but I am. Eminem, math and music, and I'm not a musician, I'm just a messenger. Thank you.